I have been getting a ton of questions about consequences, and one of those questions that I got was about logical consequences. And so I just wanted to go a little bit into what a logical consequence is, the different parts of a logical consequence, and then I can also share some examples. So with a logical consequence, it is a way for us as teachers and adults to set clear limits to our children, to our students, and it allows the students and the children to hopefully learn from their mistakes and understand that the behaviors that they are presenting, that they're getting consequences for, are not acceptable. And so a logical consequence is done in a way where we are not trying to punish them, and we are actually going to follow something called the 4 R's. So the first R is for realistic. We want to make sure that our consequences are realistic in the sense that the child or the student or the teenager is realistically able to complete or accomplish that consequence. The next R is for reasonable, and reasonable in the sense that we want the consequence to match the level of behavior. So if it's a very minor behavior, we don't want to give an extreme consequence. So we want there to be a level of it being reasonable where the consequence we're giving is matching the level of behavior. The next R is for respectful, and this has to do with our tone of voice. So a part of the nurtured heart is really about always being in a place where you are not giving energy to negative behavior. So as hard as it is, and I sometimes have to stop and take a deep breath, we want to make sure that the tone that we're using is a respectful tone. It is a tone where we are not yelling at them, we're not raising our voice, we are not showing them that their behavior is getting to us, and we're not allowing them that energy that they're seeking from us. The last R is for related, and this is really, I think, the most important one for logical consequences, because we want to make sure that the consequence we're giving is related to the behavior. We want to make sure that there is a connection, and so that's what a logical consequence is all about. So here are some different examples of logical consequences to some different behaviors that we might see in our classrooms. So one very common behavior is you have a student that is having trouble walking in line. They're being very loud, they're being very silly, they're not really in control of their body. So a logical consequence would be to have that child step outside of the line, they can walk next to you, or perhaps during recess time, you have that child just take about 1 or 2 minutes just to practice walking in a line so that they understand that when we are in the hallway, these are our expectations. We are expected to stay in the line. We are expected to have control of our body, and we are expected to have a quiet voice. Another example of a logical consequence is, let's say your students are using whiteboards and dry erase markers, and you are using it to practice a math skill. You have a student that is doodling, they're drawing, they're doing things that they shouldn't be doing. They might be drawing on the edge of the whiteboard. Perhaps they are taking the dry erase marker and scribbling on the eraser. They're just not engaged with the task that you have asked them to do. So a logical consequence would be for you to very calmly take the marker, take the board, and explain to them, I'm going to give you a pencil and paper for right now. Maybe we'll try this again next time when you can show me that we are using our whiteboard and dry erase marker the way that I asked you to. And another example of a logical consequence is, let's say that your students are using their electronic devices such as Chromebooks or tablets, whatever it is that you have in your classroom, and they are supposed to be working on a certain task. Now you discover that several of your students are working on, or not working, but they are doing something else on those devices other than what you asked them to do. So what I like to have is actually kind of like a backup paper version or worksheet of whatever we're doing. So I will have them put away, close their tablets or their Chromebooks, and just explain to them, here is a worksheet that is practicing the same skills that your classmates are doing, but since you were unable to follow our expectations, I'm going to put these away for right now, and then we can try them again next time, and hopefully you will be using them the way that I expect you to use them. So I hope this helps explain logical consequences a little bit more easily. There are tons and tons of different behaviors and logical consequences that go along with them. So what I'm going to look to do is actually create perhaps a list of typical behaviors that we see and then some logical consequences that can go along with them. And it can kind of just be like a quick reference sheet for you. So I hope this helps, and keep the questions coming.